hanging out with my brother Tobias, the traveler. How are you, sir?
Life is good, Uncle Stu. Thank you for the invitation. Very, very happy to be here, sitting back at home, hanging out, gonna have some dinner in a little bit, spend some more time with my son. Things are really, really good though, and only getting better. The journey.
I know that's right. Look, I should have switched shirts. I got my salmon shirt up in the closet,
It's gonna be looking like twin dad. I both got on salmon.
Already got the bald head.
Exactly.
Look, we be doing good.
I can grow my beard back out.
So how's everything been since the last time we spoke? Last time we spoke, you was in Dubai, and that's been almost 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, no, life is good, man. Like I said, life is good, Uncle Stu. I said, in September, October, I spent, that entire time in Europe. Went and hit 6 countries, came back, I was shooting footage, for my YouTube channel, Tobias the Traveler. Had a great time, got to reconnect with actually a couple of friends of mine. I met a brother back in 2013. He and I actually met in Poland, and we hadn't seen each other in a while. And I was in Belgrade, Serbia. I posted on my Facebook page, and he just happened to be there. He hit me up, on Facebook Messenger. Hey, are you in Belgrade? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where? I'm like, in the city center. Turns out he was about 400 yards from me. Hey, man, I'm gonna be right there. Let's meet. Let's grab some eat. Let's have a beer. And it was real nice catching up with him. And like I said, got my son going off to college here come August. So very, very proud about that. Really happy to see him go off and start that next chapter in his life, making sure he's ready, he's able, he's excited about it. And hashtag empty nester. Right.
Yes.
Coming soon.
Yes, I remember what it was like to be an empty nester. Now, for me, it was a little bit different because when I finally became an empty nester, I felt bad for like 6 months. I was so used to my daughter being around. So, it was like, hey, what you doing? Hey, what you doing? Hey, what you doing? Type deal. She was like, Dad, after the first year, it was like, Dad, you need to get you a woman, She's
like, hey, we need to meet somebody.
You need somebody. I can't be your person. But no, I really know what that feels like. So, I congratulate you coming into the empty nester school, and knowing what it feels like just to be able to breathe and not have any responsibility, at least directly, any responsibilities for your son. So I definitely give you the honor for that. And too many times men don't get the praise for, being that father, being that head of household and directing that young man towards a positive and productive life. So kudos to you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Right. I knew that, like when I moved back to the States in 2015, he was still, a little bit younger. And I'm like, okay, he's, coming into adolescence. I have to be there, for him all day, every day. There is no other way around that. So I've made that happen, and he's lived with me full time for a number of years now. I love it. He loves, he can always go see his mom whenever he wants to. There's no issues there. We've never had an issue, in that area. So some folks will say, oh, you're blessed, or you got lucky. And I'm like, she just knows who I am. I know who she is. We're able to co-parent with no issues. So things are good on that front. And like I said, he's happy. He in the room right now and doing some homework or something like that. or watching Twitch or something.
Do me a favor. I love what you said. And unfortunately, that's a story and a narrative that's not really spoken about. Can you just touch real quickly on that, how you was able to get to the co-parenting, being able just to co-parent in a reasonable way? When I got divorced, I didn't have to quote unquote co-parent because my daughters was already an adult. So I didn't have to quote unquote talk to the mother. I didn't have to deal with the mother. I just dealt with them directly. And then even dealing with them directly, there was never this, what your mama doing? It was never none of that. So we have our conversations, they have their conversations, so how was you able to navigate that? Help some people that don't see that or don't realize that's a possibility.
All right. One thing I did, right? So, like, when I was married for 10 and a half years, I ended it in 2012. I ended up moving to Europe for a few years, right? Came back and see my son. And coming back, I had to, apologize to her because, I got married super young. I was 20 years old. I didn't know who I was as a man yet. I did not know how to communicate properly. And she comes from a traditional household where, she saw her father being decisive, confident, problem solver, just like there for the family, day in and day out. And, that's what she expected, of me. I had no clue what I was getting into at that time. So when I came back, when I left, I knew I had some growing to do. And when I came back, I had to apologize to her, like, hey, I messed up, but I've grown. I know this, and I'm not gonna not be in my child's life because she knows that I grew up without my father being in my life, and there were some lessons that were missed. I know that there were lessons that I missed by not having my father, at least or even like a solid male figure in my life from the time I was 12, through adolescence, right, and to be and on to manhood.
Right.
And I refused to have my son, the demons that I had that plagued me. I refused to pass those on to him. And I communicated this to her. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be here. And she wanted me to see him because he's always been a daddy's boy. I mean, he was like, I'm doing Muay Thai kickboxing, he's doing Muay Thai kickboxing. I'm doing, laps around the park. He's up there trying to run with me to do laps around the park. I'm playing video games. He's sitting there wanting to play. He is me. And he's actually a better version of me. And she knew this. So there wasn't any animosity. It's not like she wasn't vindictive or there wasn't any animus towards, me. Upon returning. So I think that really helps now. And, in communicating this from a sincere place, and then being there, showing up, right? Hey, this is what it is. Boom, boom, boom. This is what I'm gonna do. This week will make happen. And just, being a man of my word.
Right.
That I think really, really helped. Now I understand also that there may be, women who may be still very hurt from that man. That's a different issue, right? And even if that man's trying, she still may be trying to scuttle his attempts, right? Shipwreck his attempt. But you still got to push hard. You still got to try. You really have to. And with my son, he knows that he can call me at any time. And I could be on some other side of the world, like if I was going to some place to shoot content. If I was in Antarctica, I'd be trying to, and something happened, he knows I'd be trying to get off Antarctica like back here as quickly as I can. Right. He knows this. So communicating with with your ex-wife or your child's mother, that hey, maybe you did mess up, right? Because we always have to look at what did we do wrong in the relationship. Some people may not want to do that, like, oh well, it's her, but what was the cause of her doing that now, right? What did you potentially do to cause this woman to feel this way? And can you actually own that type of ownership? Is a sign of maturity, right? It's that next level that you moved into manhood where it's, yeah, I messed up. I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that I was messed up then. I didn't know I was wrong. But I'm looking to get better. I'm looking to learn. There's been growth and I will continue to grow. And you'll see this, so will he. And I'm going to teach him along the way. So he doesn't have to do this when he gets, older, when he becomes a man. He will already know. He will have this foundation. And we never had any issues when it came to custody, like at all. He chooses to live with me. Right. He can go to his mother's house whenever. If he wanted to go there right now, Dad, I'm gonna take the car and I'm going to Mom's house for a minute. Okay.
Right. I love that level of maturity, and I don't hear that often. What I call masculine maturity, recognizing the weakness within us as men, recognizing it, seeing it, analyzing it, recognizing our part in a totality situation, own it, and then work on it. So I want to give you that. In my own personal life, I had to go through that maturity later in my life. After I got divorced, I would say that building, that realization came when I had to connect with my oldest daughter, and being able to, as much as I wanted to blame her mother, and as much as I wanted to blame, at the time that my dad was living, certain areas of my parents and her parents, there were certain areas I had to even take ownership of and be able to swallow that pill and say, I'm gonna take ownership of this part. I'm gonna recognize that, I did this and it caused you this pain, and I'm not gonna deny you your pain, and to work on me and fix it. And me and my little daughter got a beautiful relationship today. And I'm only going to ask you this, and then we're going to move on to another question. That ownership, that realization of saying, hey, I messed up, and here's the part that I had to take. That's something I don't hear, and that's on both sides, men and women. But from the man perspective, what brought you to that level, to that mindset of, hey, I'm the one that at least messed up in this area, and then take that accountability, and then what did you do to develop that? I know I asked you a whole lot in a little bit of time.
You know what? I remember 2013, right? I'm living in Germany, and I was living in Germany, and I discovered a lot of people don't like this man because they think he's too harsh, but his name is, Jason Black, the Black Authority, or he has a show now called The Business. He was the first man I heard speaking about your purpose. Like, what is your purpose in life? Who are you? And what a solid family structure looked like. And it was eye-opening to me, right? Hey, you are the man. You should be the protector, right? For your family. You should be the provider. When things go great, right? You can go ahead and, you provide, the accolades to the family. Hey, your mom helped out with this, or your uncle helped out with this, but you provide that leadership, that guidance, that direction. And he goes, a lot of Black men in America, you didn't get this. You didn't get this. He says, I was fortunate enough to have, my father and my mother, right, present. They're married. They're still married. My uncle, so he came from a family of solid men, and he was talking about ownership. I'm like, whoa. And I used to listen to him a lot, and I thought, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, whoa, everything he is saying resonates with me. That coupled with reading Way of the Superior Man by David Dita, when I read that book, and I'm coupling the information from that book with what I'm hearing, right, from Jason Black, the light came on. And especially with Way of the Superior Man, David Dita pointed out so many things in my relationship that I did wrong without even saying my name. And I'm like,
I did a video about that. I might have to go back and revisit it. Yeah. Some books, right, we have to go back and re-listen to or reread because there's so much information that is, presented to us. Repetition is the mother of learning. So we have to constantly hear it. We have to reinforce ourselves. We should revisit it, because people don't read the Bible just once, do they? No, you study the Bible. So to get better at something in the foundation, the basics, you have to study them. And that means rereading some things a few times. Just because you hear something once, you read something once, doesn't mean you got it. So again, it was Jason Black, and hearing and reading Way of the Superior Man that really kickstarted, my growth. So because I've asked, I'll tell my sisters, right, or like my nieces, like, hey, there's two very important questions. If you're really serious about it, man, two important questions you should ask. And I said, you can ask him, does he know who he is as a man? And does he know what his purpose is? Now, it doesn't matter what he says.
It's how he says it, because those are very profound questions for men. I don't need to tell you that, oh yeah, I know who I am as a man, and yeah, I know what my purpose is. Because if I hear a woman ask me those questions, I know immediately she's most likely looking for something a bit more substantial, right? Moving forward. It's all she should really need to know is, oh, this how he responds. It's simple yes, or he'll probably look at her and be like, what? Really? You're asking me that question? Well, why do you want to know those two questions? That should get his ears to perk up. And yeah, when I told, or when I've spoken to, like I said, some of my family members, and let them know, like, hey, just listen to what this man says. Listen to how he says it. If his pitch increases, he probably doesn't know. Right. Oh yeah, I know who I am as a man. No, because when you've done the work that's associated with understanding who you are and defining what your purpose is. And when people say, what's your purpose? Honestly, I think that actually translates to, what are your goals in life? Right? What are your goals? And I don't think most people actually have their goals written down. So those are very, very important, because it gives you direction on where you should, where your ship is sailing, right?
Right.
And if if the ship doesn't have a direction, if it doesn't have a course plot, man, it's gonna crash. I mean, you're not gonna make it to the port that you're supposed to get to if you don't actually have, a goal set on, like, this is where we're going and this is how, we plan to get there, right?
Right.
So yeah,
you're right on point. I'm always adamant about look at a man 6 months to 1 year past. And when I say past, what is that level of success? How long has he been working on this plan? When I met mine, she didn't ask me those questions in a direct way, but it was indirect, where I was able to tell her, this is where I want to be 6 months from now. This is where I want to be a year from now. But this is where I came from, and here's how I got to at least where I am. I did a video, and it'll be coming out Friday.
Okay.
Where the whole premise of it is, what does a man need? And I think what I really missed in that video, and I'll probably go revisit the video, is look at where he was and where is he and where is he going, and do you see levels of success? Because it's one thing to say, I'm 40 years old still trying to be a rapper. Dude, you need to give that up.
Yeah.
It's
how long you been working at that?
Yeah, I got divorced 5 years ago. Okay, what have you done in these 5 years? Where was you 5 years ago? Where are you now? And to me, every man needs to be at a level where he's so confident in himself that if the woman he's choosing and the woman that's choosing him, if anything was to happen, he has that self-confidence that I can still move forward.
Correct.
A lot of people get, I haven't had people to get upset, or at least in my face, but they don't understand, because me and my wife, we jokingly echo to each other, if you left me, I'm going to be okay. If she left, she's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, oh, well, don't say that, y'all. No, we're not saying that as a way of saying we trying to leave each other. We're saying we have both independently put ourselves in the position that if, God forbid, anything was to happen, we can make it. If, God forbid, I pass away, she can make it. If, God forbid, she passed away, I can make it. I find that a lot of people can't make it if they don't have somebody there.
I agree. Right. That I think that their false happiness lies in someone else, or they think their happiness lies in someone else. And if that person leaves for whatever reason, then their happiness is gone. Now they're just they're in a rut. Well, that means they were already in a rut before that person even got there. We should all be self-sufficient. We should all be happy here first. Then you meet somebody else that does it for you, and it's like, whoa, you are amazing. Okay, but what can we build together that's going to be even better than what we already have?
Right.
Not oh man, if you leave, I'm not, because if you leave, I'm gonna be so hurt. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna be able to pay my bills. I'm not. No. No. You should be You should be able, as be comfortable with being alone. That's one thing that happened to me when living in Europe, just by myself, living in Australia, just alone. I
Mm-hmm.
had to grow accustomed. I had to like just being able to sit in a room and like read a book, or sit in a room and maybe I was watching YouTube or something like that. Not just, oh, I need to go to the mall, I need to call my brother, or I need to give my mom or somebody a ring and see how everything's going back home in California. No, can you just enjoy your alone time, right? The solitude, because now you're with your own thoughts. You start thinking about things,
Right.
and when you start, are you okay? Are you okay? And some people are afraid of that. They're afraid of their own thoughts, like they're wrong or something. They're like, no, they're not wrong. You just need to see where you are in life, like, and think about like, okay, well, where am I now? Where do I want to be going? And sometimes I don't think most people know that there should be a destination. They should have goals, because if when people don't have goals, they just kind of do nothing. They just stay in the same little circle, but they never get to where they should be, because they probably don't know they should be someplace. Like, right? Those people who have goals, whether they're financial goals, fitness goals, when they work on them, they look at them every day, they happen. But if you don't have those goals, or you don't have that purpose, or right, that definiteness of purpose, then you kind of just flounder. You just, you're gonna look back like, man, where did time go?
Right. 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 Um, Before moving on, talk to me about, because I know what you're talking about, fear of being alone. What does that look like? And what would your advice be about walking past the fear of being alone?
Okay, fear of being alone. I've seen it a couple times in different friends, and some of my friends actually. Those people who have the fear. I'm not a clinician, right?
Right.
So let me, right? I'm not. I am not Jordan Peterson by
Right.
any stretch. Although, yeah, shout out to Jordan Peterson. Look,
Shout
man,
out to Joy Peterson.
yes, not a clinical psychologist, but I see a lot of people who are afraid to be alone as those who, men and women, they'll meet someone, things go great, and then they'll leave that relationship when when the rubber meets the road. They'll jump to another relationship, and another one, and another one, and another one. But they never have the time to just be alone. There's this fear of, oh my God, why is it so quiet in here? I can hear a pin drop. I can hear my oven going right now. Maybe they don't enjoy the sound of their own thoughts. That scares them. They need to have somebody else around, someone to latch on to, versus, you know what? I'm home. I can sit back, grab my book, go through my letters. I can look at my goals that I got written down here. Let me
Right.
right. And they don't do that. They like, or not even like, it's like they require the attention of someone else, but their own attention is not sufficient. Why that is, that will require, I'm not a professional.
Understandable. Right. Right.
Yeah, but that's what I see with people who are a lot of times afraid to be alone. They'll go from like relationship to relationship to relationship, and they do it quick, and it stays in like the honeymoon phase, and then they'll move to the next one. It's the honeymoon phase, that whatever span of time that is for that person until it gets old or it dries up, and then they're on to the next one, because it's a constant state of feel good. All this, right? That, man, she's amazing. He's a great person. That constant dopamine hit. And as soon as it starts to dip, well, they have to switch to somebody else to get that new feeling again. It's like they're chasing that high, the beginning of a relationship. That's like I said, man, like one of my closest friends, I've seen that in him. I'm like, man, dude, we haven't spoken in a while, but that I've seen that a lot in him, and I'm like, it bothers me, but yeah, I'm not gonna go into that.
Yeah, yeah. I had to learn that as well, coming out of that fear of being alone. I had someone who said, man, you need to be able to, be alone. I was like, what are you talking about? I ain't never been alone. But that whole thing of being alone and getting comfortable with myself and getting comfortable with learning how to love me, as opposed to me loving someone else, learning how to love me and be at peace with me, being at peace with just that contentment and sitting in contentment was really powerful. So I definitely understand that transition. What everybody don't know is behind the scenes. Every time you call, I always go, "What country were we in?"
Currently in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America.
Yeah.
You know something? I gotta say, I can never call, my home. I'm a proud American, right? You see, I got this red, white, and blue home. I can never call this place the Matrix, right? I just can't.
Right.
Yeah, that's not me. It's America. We got everybody trying to get here, and nobody trying to leave.
Exactly. Now, I think that's what's so powerful is that as much as I've traveled, much as you travel, now you beat me into traveling, but as much as I've traveled overseas and can brag and boast about other countries and cities I've seen, America, no matter what people say, is still the country that I'm going to call home. I haven't seen a reason to give up America yet. I haven't seen a reason to give it up because when you look at, this is February, all the things that Black people has done, all the things that I've seen with my own two eyes, my grandfather has done and my other grandfather has done, my dad has done. It's like I've been around the world. I don't think I'm ready to give up America. I don't think America, at least in my lifetime, has done so much damage to me that I'm ready to give up that kind of life. If I did it, I'm just traveling. I don't know if I can just give it up as a government, as a constitution just yet. Because I know other places, it's like, y'all got a semi-constitution of America, but you ain't got America.
True. One thing about America now, we do have our issues, right? And we got a whole slew of issues. We don't have to go in. But if, like, me, I've spent a number of years abroad. When my son goes off to college, I'm gonna move abroad again. But I'm gonna tell you now, people may talk about America. Americans, right, who are abroad may talk about America. But you know what? If something jumped off internationally, I guarantee you they'll hightail it back here. They're not gonna give up that U.S. citizenship.
Right.
Not gonna do.
Right.
Like, America, this and da-da-da-da. You are not about to give up that American citizenship to live in another country, because even if you gain citizenship in that country, you're not of that culture, which is actually more powerful than the passport you hold. You may be able to get into the country, but you're not of that ilk, right? You're not of that breed, but you're not of those people. You're just not. So you're going to get treated differently, especially if like a war came. Oh, it's right. Yeah, everybody who's abroad, all Americans, like, hey, you know what? All Americans, if the call came, hey, we think you all should come home now.
Right. Everywhere, what everybody doesn't know is everywhere you go, there's two things I always tell people. Know where your embassy or consulate is at. Mm-hmm. And if you're in a country where there's a military base, whether it's Navy, Army, or Marines, well, they don't have a Coast Guard necessarily overseas, but the four branches, know where they're located, because that's your safe place. Because if you can't get to the embassy, you can get to a military base that says, here's my passport, I heard XYZ, and you'll have a safe place.
Yeah, if you need to get heloed up out of there, it's gonna probably happen from there.
Exactly.
That is some very good information. I never thought of that, right? I know where the embassy is, right? Okay, great. But the protection is at the base.
Is at the base. That's right.
The firearms, the protection is at the base.
Is at the base.
Right. The people who look and sound like you, whether they were a white American, a Hispanic, you come from the red, white, and blue. Okay. You celebrate Thanksgiving, not just Christmas. You celebrate an American holiday. Right. 4th of July, Thanksgiving. Yeah. That's a very good. Thank you for blessing me with that one.
You are welcome.
Okay.
The image of traveling, especially looking at certain aspects of YouTube, has been negative in the sense of social media. I recognize traveling totally different than internet ever came down.
Yeah.
Talk to me about being a traveler, an international traveler. What does that look like? Because you got one image of, oh, he's a black man, he's going to look for women. The traveling I used to know about was the people that go overseas to emerge in various cultures, not even as a tourist, although they can be identified as a tourist, but it was emerging in the culture. And that was my experience. Everywhere I went, my job was to emerge in the culture, whether I went over there as just a regular military person or as just a human being, from America. It was always to emerge in the culture, but that's not how people see it today. What is your experience in the difference between being a traveler versus what they're saying online, which is mostly black men going over to look for women?
Okay, so give you a little bit about my history with traveling, right? I discovered travel years ago. So I remember being like 6 years old, getting into a fight, and I ended up losing the fight. My stepdad, was there, and he was an old school kung fu guy himself. He was like, "This will never happen again." So he puts me in karate. I started doing karate, and 2 years later, I fight this kid again, beat him up. And so I got my revenge. Like, oh, I'm on top of the world. And with karate, right? Well, everyone knows karate comes from Japan. So
Right.
I wanted to go to Japan to train with the masters there. I'm 8, 9 years old, but
Right.
this is how it started. But then I also started reading encyclopedias. I was reading, China, right? Let's read up on China history. Let's read up on Japan history. Let's read up on Myanmar. Actually, it was Burma back then. Let's read up on Brazil and Russia. And, the USSR was USSR. Then
Right.
Russia.
Right.
Exactly. It was USSR. Or, for those who don't know, United Soviet Socialist Republic.
Right.
But I always had like this desire to travel, and I used to watch a lot of National Geographic, and I would see some white man with in other countries actually immersed in the country, right? In the, he's eating the food, he's hanging out with the locals, he is it's outside and raining, maybe he was wrestling an alligator or something, I don't know.
Right.
But I wanted to do that. I just saw that as exciting. I remember like taking US history, and I'm like, this is boring, right? Honestly, I had no desire to read US history. When it came to the world history chapter, I read through that stuff. I remember like skimming through my history book and
Right.
just jump to all that just to read what was in there, whether it was about Genghis Khan or Napoleon, right?
Right.
That's what world history just like what did it for me. It was just I was excited about it. So the culture itself and languages have been something that I found exciting since I was a young man, a boy.
Right.
And so this is how I came into it. Now when I first left the country, the first country I visited, I went to for an extended period was Thailand, right? With my ex-wife. She was born there, raised here, and she still has a ton of family there. So yeah, going to Thailand for me was a beautiful thing. I had already been married to her for 4 years before we went. So I was pretty much kind of, immersed in the culture already, with the food, the language, holidays, the belief system, being they're Buddhists, all that stuff. So it was, oh, okay, now I'm about to get it full time. And now it's really, I'm immersed in the culture. So that's where I think most people who travel, when you say would travel, well, are they, because some folks go to vacation. Vacationing, I think you're not really immersing yourself in the culture. Vacationing, you're going to some place for, a week or something like people, oh, we're going to vacation in Cabo, we're going to Hawaii. Okay, great. Or maybe they're going to the Bahamas. But that doesn't give you the travel experience where you're sitting down, really eating with the locals. Traveling, I think, is being able to be in a place a lot of times for an extended period of time, not necessarily saying, oh, you live here, maybe you're there for 2 months, and you really get to soak up, some of the culture. You really get to learn about the people and the customs, the language a little bit, right? You add, maybe you add some of their food into your diet after you leave that place. So like, oh, well, this just kind of like, you adopted it because you liked it, that for me is, what traveling is. And black folks, because men and women have been traveling way before this internet fad, right? The internet hit the fan, because black folks been traveling, especially to Southeast Asia, since the Vietnam War.
Right.
So especially military men, they've been traveling to Vietnam, right? Well, see, not Vietnam, but particularly Thailand, because I know there was a couple of Air Force bases in Thailand during the 60s. They was going to the Philippines, right? Going to Japan. So servicemen have been traveling, like black servicemen have been traveling the world since. Right. You all have, it's just what it was. Military recruiters use it as traveling as a selling point for new recruits.
That's right.
To get them to take that oath.
That's right. Yeah, because you got the Philippines, and Germany was another big selling point.
Still is.
Once you go to Germany, because they got a whole city of what they call Afro-Germans, which is either military people who live in Germany, or various parts of Morocco or West Africa that lives in Germany. So yes.
So the traveling is about, you get to, you're going to some place, to a culture that obviously isn't your own. You learn about that culture, you soak that culture up. Pieces of it will become part of you. You will impart some of yourself on that culture, or at least the people that you are interacting with, daily, on that from that culture. So it's a give and take, right? It's a sharing. It's not about, let's just go meet these women. That's not it. Now, there are men who go, that's what they do, right? They travel to meet women. Do your thing. I'm taking those shots at you. If that's what you do, cool. Hey, I mean, if you're traveling to meet women, that's that when you meet those women, that's typically happening a lot of times in different red light districts. That's we'll just leave it like that. Though they're happening in red light districts.
Right.
And like I said, that's your choice. Go for it. But that is not what traveling is about. Let's just go meet the women. I actually met a guy before, right? And we used to hang out. Actually, we met once. He would judge a country or a city based on if the women liked him. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're judging a city or a country based on if you got some or not? No. You got some internal issues. You need to work on that. But that's not travel, right? That's something completely different. If you want to do that, knock yourself out, but don't say you are a traveler. If you want to give yourself a different moniker, a different name, a different label called, passport bros, which many people are using today. Right. Okay, that's what you do. But they aren't travelers. Travelers go to other countries also. They don't just hit like the same 3 places all the time, or which I've heard in the passport bro spaces, the big 3: Brazil, Colombia, Dominican Republic. Those are like the big 3 spots where they like going to. And now people want to go to Thailand. So and I'm like, oh, well, they only go into one city in Thailand. They're not seeing the rest of the country and how beautiful it is, and how safe it is, and how tolerant it is, and how great the food is, and how well you're just treated by the people in the kingdom. No, they don't do that. They go to one red light district city. And
I like the way you separated something, and I want people to really hone in on that. Vacation versus traveling. I used to separate cruises and vacation, but you added traveling. People would say, oh, I've taken a cruise, and I'm like, you never traveled. That's getting on a boat. But you separated vacation and traveling. If I add another word, can you explain that word, which is, so what's the difference in being an explorer? Because I would have actually mixed up that word, traveling and explorer, based on how you defined it, but you probably have a better take on those words than even I have.
For me, when I hear, if someone says, hey, I'm an explorer, right? That tells me this person, when they go to some place, they're there like in a specific, like in a geographic region for an extended period of time, right?
Okay.
Yeah, they're there. They're gonna really ingrain themselves in the culture, right? They're going to learn the language. They're gonna be associating themselves a lot of times probably with like the village elders, or at least they're going to more rustic areas. They're not just staying in the city. They're going into more rural, less visited areas. So in Thailand, for example, when you first fly in, you hit Bangkok because that's where the main airport is. And from
Right.
Bangkok, people a lot of times will go up to north to Chiang Mai, or they'll go down south to to the islands, right? Or they'll go to Phuket, or they'll go to Pattaya. Now, what they don't do is go to northeast Thailand, which is Isan. It is more rural, it's more country, right? It's I wouldn't say it's no, I don't want to say that word. It's definitely more country. It is rural.
Right.
You get you don't get a lot. There's no money out there. There's no tourism out there. But this is where say if we take it to, like, just say some Muay Thai kickboxing stuff, the majority of the champions, the kids start out at those smaller regional gyms and work their way out to the bigger gyms, in Bangkok. It is a lot more poor. You won't hear English spoken at all. You're going to hear a combination of, Laos, right? Lao and Thai spoken. But in Thailand, they don't say Lao, they say Isan. Isan, yeah. So you're going to hear Isan language or Laos, and like that'll be spoken at home, and in public you'll hear Thai. Very, very rural. People are living on farms, right? They might have a mango farm or something like that. It's very, very different. And the individual who's an explorer, they're going to spend some time out there, right? They're going to spend some time actually learning what life is really, really like, that rural life. Excuse me, not just the big city life. The big city life is easy to get. Anyone can do that. Come in, get you an apartment real quick, and maybe you're working remote, or you're working for a Thai company or something, and now you're in the right race. All right, cool. When you're out exploring, you go to an event, maybe you're out there for a Thai New Year, which is Songkran, or you're there for a Bukan, which is it could be a wedding, it could be a blessing from a monk. There's a whole bunch of different things, or either for Loy Karatong. You quickly find out how people live, right, day to day, and they're gonna slaughter a calf, right? And then, they slice the meat right off the leg, and they dipping it into like the shoulder socket blade, and they eat. Like, I'm not about to eat that, but I've seen it done many, many times. Right. This is the explorer. This person is there, and they're usually by themselves. Right? Or maybe there's two of them max, but it's usually like one or two people, and they're there to experience the culture like you can't get in the big city. So the explorer is definitely going to speak another language, or try to learn the language. They're going to be out in the rural areas. They're going to a lot of times do charity work out in those areas also. Not just, again, remember, it's a symbiotic relationship. They're not just trying to take, but they're also going to give to the people, whether it be being able to bring in 2 tons of rice, right? Because maybe they don't have the finances available, or something else. Who knows? Whatever that charity is going to look like. But the explorer is an individual, who's they're a bit more selfless.
Would you compare the explorer almost like the missionaries?
Yes, but then they're not bringing religion.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not. Typically, the explorer is not bringing religion, because they know that these people have their belief system already. So if you're trying to bring, hey, you're bringing gifts, but behind those gifts is this religion, and the religion says what you believe is wrong, you might be met with some contention. Not really a good look.
Right. If someone, I'm going to take a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, they're listening to this, they want to do what you do. They want to be able to, let's say start with doing a vacation, and then move into being an international traveler. What is some of your advice? What is some of the educational, general educational background, and even a financial background that they're going to need to be what you're doing?
Okay, I'm glad you said the educational background. The first thing I was going to say is, think about, all right, you say if someone wants to, they want a vacation, and then on top of that, right, or beyond that, like, okay, well, I like the place, or like they visited a couple of places, they decided on like one or two that they really like, and then they want to spend extended time in, say both of those locations.
Right.
Great. You will need, first off, the skills. Right, you'll need some skills under your belt so you can make some money. Because obviously, if you want to travel, you don't want to buy a plane ticket, rent an apartment, or something like that. It's going to take some finances. We get paid for the value we bring to the market. We typically don't get paid. Well, not even typically. We don't actually get paid for the hours that we work. It is the value we create for whoever we're creating it for. So that requires a skill. So you must figure out what skills you have or what skills you want to develop that can make you the money to be able to visit these places either often or be able to work from those places as often as you like. Or maybe you get hired at a company, say, you want to go to, maybe you want to move to Japan because your dream is to own a castle and teach, American kids how to be ninjas on YouTube, right?
Right.
So, you got to, selling point is owning a castle in Japan. Okay,
Right.
but that's not how you make your money, but it's just, something you enjoy.
Right.
Now, you still have to have a skill that is going to allow you to generate, finances so you can pay your bills. So I work in software, right? I work in a field called product management, or some people call it software product management. And product management, easiest way to define it is, we are the individuals, or our goal is to understand the business goals, understand what your pain points are as a customer or a user of our service, and develop solutions that meet both of these goals, but not think that building for one will automatically satisfy the other. So you will typically see, a product manager's work, or at least a software product manager's work, when you are using any app. You ever look at, it's like, oh, hey, there's a new update, right? Maybe it forces you to update, or, you might get a pop-up and it tells you what's new and they made this new feature. That is the type of work I do, right? Oh, we built this new feature. Now this is high level, but I mean, we work with I work with software engineers, I work with UX designers, I'm working with the C-level leadership of a company, I'm talking to the customers all day, I'm talking with the sales managers. Like what I do is multifaceted. You have to be able to communicate very, very well, and then understand your audience, or because you have different audiences, right? Customers speak one way, engineers speak another, CEOs and C-level leadership, they don't want the big story, they just want the bullet points, right? So you must you must have great communication skills, great organization skills, great research skills, and execution skills. You got to be able to get some stuff done.
Right.
So it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun also. Gotta say that. It's a lot of fun. So, and it pays very, very well. Your first job as a PM is easily going to be over 100 grand, right? On the low, you might get like 105. So that's like that's like junior or associate level. You'll get 105,000, and that's pretty much in almost every city in America. Well, depending on where you live, it might fluctuate a little bit, but you're gonna be really close. Yeah, you'll like if it's Georgia or maybe Texas, it might be a little lower as an associate, but still, you're 24 and making $89,000 a year, living.
You're doing pretty good for yourself.
Yeah,
you're doing real good for yourself. And I'm gonna just say my last question, because I know you gotta eat and take care of that son. My last question, for you is gonna be this: if you had to talk to that 35-year-old,
okay,
that 25-year-old, between 25 and 35-year-old, young man or woman, they're not married, we'll say they don't have children. The biggest question that a lot of people say is third world versus first world country. And you want to convince them to know the real difference between a third world and a first world country. Teach them the difference, because so many people, especially younger people, that young millennial, they'll argue people going over to third world countries, and I don't think people understand the difference between a third world and a first world country. Can you help them with that language? And then what would be your final thoughts or words that you would want to give to that age group?
Okay, so when you say third world right now, third world is extremely derogatory. Now, the term is developing nation. So you're right. We say, but people now, they're still saying third world, like, they have zero resources, like they don't have internet and running water.
Right. Right.
Now, some areas, some countries are still considered third world, right? So maybe you go to Sri Lanka, or you go to Mauritius, and you leave the city center, and they actually don't have hot water. They don't have a shower or a sewage system, right? They don't have the creature comforts you have at home. You just don't have Wi-Fi in every building, or free Wi-Fi. You walk into any place, whether it's the mall or even your home, you got to go to an internet cafe. That would be more third world. It's far less developed than what you come from. Whether you're from the United States, you're from Australia, you're from the UK, right? Like central heat and air, that is first world. That's
Right.
Right. Whereas other places, there is no central heat and air. It's just, oh, okay, well, it's, they might have a building and they can turn on, and like the building maintenance turns on to the heat when it gets cold, or they actually, maybe your apartment has like a wood burning stove in it. Some countries still have that, right? They don't have central heat and air. Actually, there's still a bunch of apartments in Berlin, Germany, right? And Berlin is considered first world. Berlin, Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, and Germany is always known that they have the top engineers, right? Top of engineering,
Right.
Not software, but actually for like manufacturing, for like vehicles and all
Right.
that. People, you got a German automobile, that German engineering, but it's still first world. So there is a difference. Third world, you won't have a lot of times your creature comforts that you have here in the States, right? Oh, let me just jump on my phone and make a phone call. Your cell phone service might be very, very spotty, or you probably won't have it at all.
Right.
First world, man, if you can walk, you're like, hold on. And you just skate over to, you come on back to your refrigerator, right?
Right.
That's first world. Right? That's first world. Like, you know what? You could reach in there, grab you a cold Sprite, and be like, right, like, I'm good, right? That's first world. Third world, you're not doing that a lot of times. Your electricity a lot of times is going to go out in the third world. You may not, honestly, for real, your electricity is probably going to, they might have just times and like, hey, we just don't have enough power generated. So y'all know what time it is. Y'all got candles. We got you. Power's going out. What? Yeah. Okay. Then you probably wake up in the morning, the power back home. That's
Right.
going to be, a more developing nation, third world.
Gotcha.
Now, for many travelers, or whether you're a passport bro or you're just a traveler like myself, they ain't going. We aren't going to third world countries like that. People may say, a lot of folks are speaking negatively about places like Brazil. Oh, they're going to these third world countries. Brazil is not third world, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and that place got like 20 million people. It has skyscrapers. I mean, I think it's like the third or fourth largest city on the planet. You ain't gonna have that, right? It's not
Right.
It's not Delhi, India. It's not. That's India would be, still considered, a developing nation, although they have 1 billion people. China was considered developing. China was considered a developing nation up until just recently, probably like the last like 25 years, 30 years. China was also considered a developing nation. So developing, some areas and countries may still be developing. right? But
Right.
those are like kind of out there, right? Those like, the outskirts. But we can say the same thing about certain areas in the United States. Look at your cell phone coverage. You're right.
Right.
Your phone might
You're
not,
right. You're
your phone might not
absolutely
work.
right.
And then so yeah, first world, real easy lifestyle. Developing nation, there might be some challenges for you just because you aren't accustomed to the lifestyle of that
Right.
location. As for what was the last part of your question? You say, what would I communicate to?
I said, what would you, if you had your chance, you're sitting in front of a crowd of 25 to 35-year-olds right now, what would be your inspirational word to them?
Oh, my inspirational words to them.
Or just thoughts, like,
I depart a whole bunch of my philosophies. I would get, man, yeah. I'm actually going to print. I have my philosophies written down.
okay.
Some of them I have borrowed. Others are
Okay.
just I've learned, and I'd really want to share some of them with them. Like so, and like for like men 25 to 35.
Right.
One of my most important ones, right, is capture the money before you chase the women. Capture because there's a lot of men out there who they're still trying to chase women, but the thing is you get it backwards. If you capture the money and also work on it, there's a whole bunch of stuff I've got, but the first one, capture the money, but make sure your finances are in order. Very, very important, not for the women, but for you. You live in the United States. Money is security. Money is security. And I said, I wish I'd have been taught this a long time ago. Like, I already got my son investing.
Right. Right.
And you know what? Now, guess what? There's a whole bunch of Black folks that love Cash App. You could actually buy stock on Cash App now. So I don't want to hear nothing about, I don't know how to invest. No, hey, man, we can all follow trend lines. If a trend is going up and to the right, little by little by little, you don't have to you don't need $3,000 to buy a Tesla stock. You can buy $60. You can buy $10. You can buy $15, and you just add to it little by little by little, and it's going to increase over time if you're investing in the right stocks. How do you know if it's the right stock? Learn about it. Learn who the leadership is. Learn what their long-term plans are. And it takes some time, but yeah, capture the money, and then capture the money first, or capture the money before chasing the women.
What would you say to women? I like what you had to say to me. What would be your philosophy? What would you say to women?
What would I say to women? Acquire a skill, right, that will allow you to to have the lifestyle you want. But to have the lifestyle you want, but don't believe that alone will cure your loneliness of the loneliness of the future without a partner, because it's coming. People, we hear them speak about, they're like, oh, I'm strong and independent, but you got this money, but that does not remove that feeling that bothers them deep inside, that they cannot get rid of. They can have $3, $4, $5 million, but that lonely. Or maybe they have a friend that that they hang out with, who's their friend,
right?
But there's no intimacy there. That still equals lonely. That doesn't work. Right, and for them guys, a lot of times we just run around the world and just be like, oh my God, whatever. It's till you 58, and then you're like, you know what? I think I want to get married.
Right.
Yeah. So women, gain a skill that allows you to create the lifestyle that you're looking for, but don't think that it will remove that potential of loneliness that many women actually have today. Because you can ask them. I remember on my Facebook page a couple years back, right, I asked this question, because I have like 5,000 friends,
right,
and I asked them, I said, hey, would you rather be married to a solid man who was who took care of the family, took care of the business, y'all had some kids, y'all could take vacations together and all that good stuff, right? Married with children and like happy, like that genuine thing that people say, oh, my grandmother, my grandfather had. Would you rather have that, Or would you rather be, the lonely, the jet set millionaire who's flying around the world by herself, but you got this paper, and like 99% of them like, no, I'll take the husband and some kids. I'll take the husband and some kids.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take the husband and some kids. Exactly. So again, you can't, things fall apart. I get that, because I tell my niece,
Right.
that, hey, you might meet somebody and it might not be for, they may not be for you, or you grow apart, whatever. You still need to be able to support yourself. I get it. But remember also that, y'all desire something different than men. So don't think that loneliness won't come for you, and think the money and the status and your vacations on that will do the trick for you, when there's a lot of single women out there who they claim they can't find anybody, that lonely. Ooh, that's women. I'm not a woman, obviously, but I'm very sure they experience loneliness different than we do. So
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Well, I want to definitely thank you, sir, for your time and your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding. And I hope that people was able to really take a lot of what we had to talk about, especially what you had to say, and change their life, change their mind, change their thoughts.
yeah, you know what? I appreciate the invitation. I'm also hoping people can hear my words, and even if it resonates with them, beautiful. They want to send me an email, have a conversation, they can email me at tobias@tobiasthetraveler.com, or Instagram Tobias the Traveler. Feel free, hit me up. We can have a conversation. So,
and I'm gonna make sure all of that information is in the description, so they'll definitely be able to reach your YouTube, your Instagram, and Facebook.
Email, Instagram, email, Facebook, Instagram. I'm active. You can get a hold of me on any of those mediums. So,
are you tired of feeling like something is missing in your life? Do you long for the true happiness but aren't sure where to find it? Look no further than The Geography of Bliss by Eric Weiner. This captivating travel memoir takes you on a journey around the world in search of keys to happiness. With wit, humor, and a deep curiosity, Weiner explores the cultures and traditions of countries like Switzerland and Ireland to uncover what truly makes people happy. Don't miss out on this enlightening and thought-provoking read that just might change your life. You can find these two books in the description below. You can either get the book or the audio book. And I want to personally thank Tobias the Traveler for coming by and educating me, you, and the whole family about traveling, about his family, about him and manhood. This is Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. Hit that like, subscribe, and watch another video. Peace.